So hey, thanks again for stopping by today. My name is Gellis and this is Infinite Modesty Design. Of course, who we are and what we do. We are a Toronto sewing and fashion studio. Of course, we help build the skills of individual with online tutorials and offline sewing classes. Of course, if you want to find out more about our sewing classes, kindly check the link in the description below. And hey, please, if you're new here, kindly subscribe to our video and ring the notification bell to get more videos like this. Now in this video, I will be showing you how to do a fancy, fabulous gather skirt with elastic waistband and also French seam. So stay tuned. Okay, so in this video, I put in all the tools that we're going to be using to make a gathered skirt with French seam. So that's what we'll be doing. So the tools you will need, of course, is your tape measurement, possibly a seam ripper. You may or may not bring a seam ripper, but as someone who sews, you always want to have it at hand. Of course, the scissors. You may need pin cushion pins, right? You need your elastic because that's the elastic you're gonna be putting in the skirt. Now, and of course the fabric itself. Now, for the elastic and the skirt, the measurement of the waist I'm making is for my little daughter. Her waist is about 24, right? All right, so now what I do, the elastic I cut it is exactly the waist size because I don't want it too big. And what I'm gonna do, because it's stretchy, that's perfectly fine. I'm only gonna take only half an inch itself, and that will be quarter on each side in order to make the seam itself for the elastic. So pretty much I don't want it to make it too big because it's elastic, it's stretch. So for the fabric now, the fabric I have, you could get any amount of fabric. Just for a measurement, what you could do, if the child waist is 24, you could double that itself and add 1 inch for seam allowance. Okay, but this one I just make it a little bit longer because the longer you make it is actually more gathery. So for my daughter, oh no, I make it, it's about 59 in width. So the width of the fabric here is 59 and the length itself is just 20. And that 20 in length now, I'm gonna make sure that it helps to cover for the waistband and also the hem allowance. All right, again, you could make it longer or shorter as you want, but the width I have here is 59 by 20 in length. So 59 in width by 20 in length. Okay, so now the first thing I'll be showing you now is how to do the French seam. So stay tuned as we go along. Okay, so when you're making a French seam, it may seem a little bit odd, but you are in good hands. Now, you want to put the wrong sides touching each other. So this fabric is a print, and sometimes it's hard to see the right side and the wrong side. So the right side is where everyone will see. When you have a skirt on, everyone will see the right side, and the wrong side will be the inside, the one that will be touching your body. Now for the French seam, now you want to put the wrong sides touching the wrong side. So basically you'll be seeing the right side looking at you. Again, that's fine. You would understand exactly by the time we finish doing the French seam. So the French seam is used as a very professional way to actually close your garment. So I'm going to bring my machine close by. And like I said, if you're a beginner, I would advise you to pin your fabric. You could pin it this way as you go along. I wouldn't pin it, but in case that you need to pin your fabric together, please do so. Okay, so I'm going to just do a 1/4 inch stitch. You could go bigger as well, that's fine, but I'm going to do a 1/4 inch stitch. And then my 1/4 inch stitch now, just going to adjust my setting here. My 1/4 inch stitch is going to help me when I'm trimming. So you want to make sure you make a very small stitch. So I have edge to edge here. Now I'm going to go to my machine and I'm going to start to sew. All right, so we're going to start to sew. Then we're going to stop. Of course, we're going to reach. Make sure we put our hand on our reverse to do our back stitch. Then we're going to sew all the way down our 1/4 inch stitch. Just take your time. Again, like I mentioned, sewing is like driving a car. You press your gas and it would go according to how much you press. So I'm just going to stop and clear this out of the way here. And you're just going to take your time. My hand is at a safe distance. I'm not pulling the fabric anyway. Come to the end, stop. 1, 2, 3, do my back stitch and I'm done. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut this off, and this is my 1/4 inch stitch. Now what you could do now, you could take your scissors and you could even trim it down more. So trim down that extra 1/4 inch, trim it down a little bit more, right? So trim it all the way down. Just don't go too low down to the actual fabric, to the actual seam, sorry. All right. So you would trim it down all the way down. And remember, this is the right side that everyone would see. Okay. So the next thing you're gonna do now, you would turn your fabric over to the wrong sides, and the wrong side would actually look neat. But don't worry, every area, every part of the fabric will be just as neat. So this is the wrong side that I'm looking at right now, and then this is the right side. What I would go to do now, I would go on my iron and I would iron this down. So I want to just iron this part down. So we will go on our iron right now and iron it down. Okay, so let's go on our iron now. Okay, so now I have the wrong sides facing me, and this is the side which is my seam was on the right side. I'm gonna fold it like this, and I want to iron this down. So my iron here, gonna do one with iron. Yeah, I don't have to have all this steam. It's just because my iron had a little bit of water. That's pretty much it. All right, so that's pretty much it. So that's it. Then I'm gonna go back again, and I'm just gonna do a 1/2 inch stitch all the way down. All right, so let's go back again on the machine. So now that I'm back on the machine, and again my wrong side is facing me, right? And my right side is on this side, and of course this is my raw edge that is showing. So now I'm gonna go back on the machine and I'm gonna do a 1/2 inch stitch all the way down. Now you could also do a 1/4 inch stitch, because you remember you did do 1/4 inch stitch and you did trim down 1/4 inch. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change the 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. So I'll do a 1/4 inch stitch all the way down. So again, I'm gonna set up everything here and we're gonna start. So I'm just following my guide, go down. Okay. And now this is my right side. So let's turn it back to see what the other side look like. See? Voila. Everything is neat, neat, neat. So see, this is our French seam. So the outside look professionally done, right? This is the outside. And the inside is also professionally done. So everything is hidden. So this is how we do our French seam. So now we will be proceeding to complete our gathered skirt. Okay, so now this is the full skirt now. So I just do it on this side so you can see the raw edge, what we enclose with the French seam. So now we'll be doing the waistband now. So in order to do the waistband, so that's it here. This is what we'll be doing. Now you could also iron this. You could just bend down 1/4 inch. If you could eyeball the 1/4 inch, and then you do 1/2 inch. So what I'm gonna do, I'll eyeball the 1/4 inch. You could measure. I'm just gonna measure the 1/2 inch right here. Right, so just make sure it's about 1/2 inch. Sorry, I apologize. Make sure it's 1 inch. So the first thing you're gonna do is you could eyeball, or you could measure 1/4 inch, a 1/4 inch bend here, and then a 1 inch bend here. So I'm just gonna measure my 1 inch. Right, so this is about 1 inch. Then I'm gonna take my pin and pin it across, just like that. right? There's different method you could do it as well, but for me, I want everything to be, I want all my raw edge to be enclosed. So I'm gonna do this for all around the skirt. So for my 1/4 inch, and then my 1 inch bend, and I am gonna pin it. You can pin it this way, you can pin it this way. It's perfectly fine, right? So I'm gonna continue, and that's exactly what I want you to do now. So you're just gonna bend it 1/4 inch. If you're not sure how to eyeball 1/4 inch, you could just mark it 1/4 inch, right? And then you're gonna use your tape measurement again to mark the 1 inch. So go ahead and do that all around the skirt, and then we'll come back to sew it together. Okay, so I have pinned all around the skirt. So if you see here, so pin, I mentioned to you guys, I pin it all around. So see. Now, one thing I want to mention before we actually go back on the machine to sew is that in all your pinning, you want to leave a space, because you want to leave a space to push the elastic in. So what I put double pin here. I actually use my French seam on the side as a guide. So double seam here and double seam here. So I'm going to start here and sew all around, and then I'm going to stop here. So we're going to go on the machine now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this out because I have this luxury to kind of take it out and gauge my fabric in here. And then you could sew now. I'm going to sew right at the very edge. And I'm going to also, I'm going to sew right at the very edge of my skirt here. Now you could just sew it around. So I'm going to put my guide here and make sure I follow along right here. So because I have my machine right, my press foot right on the edge here, I'm going to pull out the needle because I don't need the needle right now. So I already have it for the purpose, and then I'm going to start. So I'm going to just kind of follow the very edge here. My back stitch, and I'm going to take my time. So I'm just pretty much doing 1/8 of an inch. You could have at least do 1/2 inch. All depends on the elastic that you have, how big it is. Because if you have a bigger elastic, you want to do a bigger seam, right? So I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to stop because I have my pin here. Take it out. The goal is that 1/2 inch stitch that you had put in between, the 1/4 inch stitch, you want to make sure that you sew it down and it's not showing on the raw edge. Again, I'm going to stop, take out my pins. So just continue sewing it all the way down. And remember, as we said, that double pin is your guide. So let's let it continue to be your guide. And now I'm coming up to my double pin here. So I'm just gonna take my time. There's some bumps here. I'll just take up my pin because I know that where the guide is now. All right, remember that French seam we did here? Gotta go over that French seam. All right, and then I'm just gonna do my back stitch right here. And I'm done. So our waistband is complete. Our waistband is done. All right, so now the next step now is to push the elastic in. Okay, so now this is my elastic, and if you notice, I have 2 pins in my elastic. I have one on one end, one on the other end. So the one end here, I'm gonna take it and put it right next to my seam, the opening here. So I'm gonna push it right here. next to the opening here, and just keep it down. And the other end now, I'm going to use my hand and I'm going to pull the pin in the fabric, and I push it down. So you can see I'm pushing it down, push it down, push it down, and then I'm pulling the fabric, but my pin is stable there. So push it down, push it down, push it down. So that's pretty much how we're going to be doing it. Sometimes you can get a longer pin. Once you get a longer pin, you go faster. There's other methods as well to do this, but traditionally the pin is always the best. Okay. So we're gonna go round and round until we come to the other side. But as we push, we also pull as well, because we know the fabric is way longer than the actual elastic, and that's the purpose. Okay, so we come into the finish line now, and then this is the elastic here now. Okay, all right, perfect. So now what we'll do, I'm going to take it out, making sure that I don't lose the elastic. And I'm going to do a 1/2 inch stitch. So here now, again, you got to make sure you know the waist of the individual, right? Because you know the lash, you could stretch as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually do a 1/2 inch stitch right here, right? I'm going to do a 1/2 inch stitch right here. So I'm going to come on my machine, and I'm going to do a 1/2 inch stitch. So I'm going to make sure I set up my needle back into position, and make sure your elastic is all set up. And I just going to do a 1/2 inch stitch. Now you could do a straight stitch front and back. So now if you're looking, I'm just doing zigzag over and over and over. You could also do zigzag stitch. Sorry, I'm just doing a straight stitch, sorry. But you could also do zigzag stitch. So you could change your pattern selection here to zigzag, right? And then you could come on your machine and just do zigzag. So just a little stitch, zigzag forward and backward and forward and backward and forward and backward, right? So that's one way you could do it as well. See? So I did it here and it comes like this. Now, with it this way, you could also bend it down this way as well. Kind of just zigzag it again, just to make sure it's stable down. Okay, so this is it, is inside. I'm just gonna measure to make sure it come up to the 24, because sometimes the elastic does stretch. So you could also do that as well. If it comes to 24, then you're fine. If it's a little bit more than 24, then you want to bring in the elastic a little bit. So if for mine it comes to 26 because I stretch it. So I will pull it in a little bit more. And that doesn't always happen. It all depends on the elastic. Sometimes the elastic, when you pull it, it goes extra. I'm going to do it this way this time. And hopefully it will be 24 for me. So there's just trial and error with this. It all depends on the elastic you use. So I just cut it out because it was a little bit too big. It stretched a little bit too much. Now I'm going to pull the pin out and I'm just going to zigzag this over and over. Again, it would be inside, so no one would even see the zigzag. You just zigzag it to make sure that once you close it in, you don't have the elastic don't bust on the inside and you're in trouble. Just it over and over, and that's good enough for me. So what I will do again one more time is just measure the waist. this pretty much look as her waist. But again, I'm just gonna measure. So I'm gonna start again from, and you don't pull when you're measuring. You can settle the fabric here, but you don't pull when you're measuring. Just come here. However the elastic go, I'm not pulling anything. I'm just going over the elastic. Right? Okay, so I'll leave it like that. All right, it's almost right there. So that's better for me. Okay, so the last row I'm gonna do here now is just close up this hole. See, that's that hole here. You cannot walk around like that, right? So I'm just gonna close up the hole, and then we will see the final work. Okay, so we're gonna go again. Just seal that little hole here. And then we're done with the waist. Now, before we finish, we're just gonna do the hemming. And the hemming now, you could again double. I'm just gonna single the hemming. Why? Because I have some pretty neat raw edge here. So I'm just gonna do one hem up. And it's about 1 inch up. Yep, it's about 1 inch up. So you could just bend your skirt now 1 inch all the way around to do your 1 inch hem. I'm just gonna eyeball it here, the 1 inch. And I'm gonna start my back stitch. And I'm gonna continue. Okay. It's gonna continue. Just gonna go around. Just going to continue bending it down. It's the hem inside now. Almost to the end. We actually did go a couple different process. You could go, you know, as much process you want, or less process if you don't want to double bend, you don't want to enclose the raw edge. That's fine. No one will see what's going on on the inside of the skirt. Somebody just want to make a quick DIY skirt, and this is one of them you could actually make for yourself, for your child, for your household, for your friends, for your family. Yeah. All right, so after now, so we are complete. I am done with making the skirt. So in the next video, you will see the final work of your skirt, of our work today. All right, so stay tuned.